There we go. Alrighty, so good evening. Welcome to session 2. It's lovely to see you all. Many of you just spent an hour with Debbie on command. If you didn't just spend an hour with Debbie on command, I encourage you on Wednesdays to go ahead and do just that. Spend the hour before we get together at 4 with Debbie, kind of working through some ins and outs and basic functionality inside of command, because it will simply help you to achieve and accomplish some of the things that that we talk about, but then don't really give you in INGITE the tools to actually go and use. INGITE is not a command class. I'll mention it. We'll talk about it as a tool, but then you really need to plug into the training classes, Tech Tuesdays, as well as Debbie's Wednesday at 3 o'clock each week that we meet to plug into to those opportunities.
I paused the recording.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And so what I'd like to do is start off with any ahas from yesterday. What did you hear that kind of spun your head around? What did you go home and think, I was glad I heard that. What did you go home and implement? What were your ahas? What were your takeaways from yesterday?
Well, I think that one thing is not just lead generation, but then lead conversion, and having the appointment, and afterwards, what's next? What's after you did all that stuff? Keep going. So it's kind of like a chain event, not individual pieces sort of chopped up here. Oh my God, I got an appointment. Guess what? I got another appointment. It should be something like you have appointments, sort of like when you have, I guess, a doctor, he has appointments. He doesn't just have one appointment one day and maybe later in the week has another appointment.
Yeah, he fills his calendar, right? Or she fills her calendar with appointments. I love that aha, because it's a really powerful business building aha, in that it's about filling your pipeline, right? It's about there. Donna said it in the chat. It's about filling your pipeline. Remember, afternoons for real estate agents, and then some weekends, that's your appointment time. Mornings is when you make the appointments. Afternoons and weekends is when you have them. It's just a system, right? So I love that the Karen brought that to the table. What else? Need at least 2 more before we move forward. So,
Rick, it's Doug Rosman. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
When you were talking about commitment to self-mastery, I found myself sharing this notion that you brought up about how to become the best version of me, this kind of thing that you look at in the mornings and sort of indicates a willingness to be open to improvement and to thinking out of the box and that kind of stuff. So I found that to be really sticking in my mind. So thank you.
Yeah, excellent. And you're quite welcome. It's an important message, right? And especially as business owners, right? Because when you wake up as a business owner and you show up for work, there's nobody there to tell you what to do. You've got to do that on your own, right? Which is why we go through, to kind of connect that aha to Karen's aha, is why we go through and kind of work out what are those 7 activities that make up your 20%? Are you getting up each morning choosing to spend your time in those activities, knowing that those produce 80% of your results? Or are you choosing something different? Or are you choosing not to show up for work, right? I mean, that's the other side of being your own boss, right? There's a lot of great freedom that comes in that. And the downside is there's a lot of great freedom that comes in that, right? You've still got to show up and actually do the do. Mara.
I was just going to say, you said to believe in yourself, to believe that you can do it and to follow through.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, belief is a big tool. Remember, Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you will be right. Go ahead, Carol. What's your aha?
Hi, Rick. First of all, I loved yesterday's session. I got so much out of it. And my aha was having a business attitude. You don't have to take the calls after 7 o'clock. You don't have to solve their problems. Give them the data, let them solve their problems themselves. And that answered a question for me. I did not get a relist this year of a canceled listing last year because of COVID. And I made all of those mistakes. Their new listing agent would never have done that. So I thank you very much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And it's, it's important to remember that just because we are in a service-based industry doesn't mean that we don't need standards and policy inside of that business, right? And the idea of, I'm going to tell you a little story in a bit about emotion versus smart business, because it was a perfect example earlier today that I worked through with someone, and it couldn't speak more loudly to setting standards and understanding that you have a goal in mind, right? Are you pushing towards that goal, or are you off on a bunny trail towards that goal? Donna.
So I always love the discussion about scarcity versus abundance, because I just feel that that is such a self-defining and, it's so critical to how you're going to show up in your business and how you're going to show up in your life. And I just think it's a really important discussion that a lot of people don't wrap their heads around. So I'm glad that we tread it in there a little bit.
Yeah, me too. And it's and for those of you who have been through INGITE before, what you may have noticed is that we don't oftentimes start with a conversation around scarcity and abundance. And I think that every day longer that I live, what I recognize in my own world is that it all boils down to that. How you see the world is about scarcity versus abundance. How you approach your business, how you approach your clients, the things that you choose to say or not say. It's all rooted in that whole scarcity versus abundance conversation. So if we're not having those conversations with ourselves and with each other to just make sure that we're thinking about it and moving from one side to the other, right? There's no judgment. If you are in scarcity right now, then you're just in scarcity. I would rather you see that, understand it, and know that there's a different path and start to slowly turn the ship towards a mindset of abundance, rather than you've never heard those words before, right? And then a year later you think, oh man, I wish I would have known that whole scarcity versus abundance thing. I maybe could have made some money in real estate this year, right? Instead of staying stuck, you have the opportunity to kind of flip it. Anything else? Any last ahas before we move forward? Going once, going twice. Okay, so Diane.
Yeah, I just want to say that pushing myself to make like the best buyer's presentation, I've actually removed some of the stand pat slides, and I replaced them with things that I've learned over the various Zoom meetings, like our belief system, win-win, commitment, integrity, communication. I've kind of, captured all of those things. And that's kind of like making myself just more of a business person that represents what I feel and so forth. And I've even done a schedule of timing about how long the process would take, in a bar graph, what happens next and so forth. And, I really have tested myself and looked at my presentation and said, is this really, what I'm going to say? And
Right.
So I think that's, a message I've learned over the time.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and we're going to speak more to tools next week. But Diane went right there, right? Because in order to achieve and perform at a high level, you need to have collateral materials. And we're going to talk about tools, where you find them, what the foundation is, how you customize them, all that good stuff, starting next week. So here's what I would love to do today. For those of you who have been through this course before, you'll say, wait a minute, what is this? Yes, something new. So in all transparency, I was looking for something else earlier today, and I came across something that I had written about a year or maybe about a year ago, I guess, that was just kind of a collection of thoughts, understandings, things I had heard, things that I had kind of created. It was just a list of those things that I think I want to spend just a few minutes with you this morning or this afternoon or this evening, whatever time it is. Today, we'll go with today. Because as I reread them, when I came across it earlier today and I reread them, I thought, yeah, you know what? A lot of these are really good business foundational concepts. And we talked yesterday about making sure that you're asking yourself the right question, right? So what are you asking yourself each day? Are you asking yourself powerful questions so that you can then send your brain off for the day to search for answers? And a lot of these will help you if you're kind of stuck on, well, what should I be asking myself? What does this really look like? What are the foundational concepts that I need to understand? I think this list will help. So I'm going to pop it on the screen. Now I'm going to tell you there are 30 of them. That's 30 of them. Yes, that's right. It sounds like a lot, but a lot of them are really short and quick. So we're just going to run through them. What I would love to do is just simply have some people unmute to be able to volunteer and just kind of read through these. And I'll speak to some of them as we go. So go ahead and unmute if you want to volunteer to read a couple of these. Of course, I have to find it. Where are you? There you are. Okay. So let's start with, oh, now I lost my friends. Where are you? There you are. Okay, Eric, go ahead and give us number one.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Leadership and business development is about changing the mindset around how you spend your time.
Yeah, I love that. How you spend your time. Number two, Karen, go ahead.
The forces and pressures of growth feel awesome and challenging if you want growth, and feel terrible and frustrating if you don't want it.
Yeah, that's kind of my add-on to accountability, right? We stopped just shy of personal perspective number 6, which is be accountable. So we're gonna start there in just a minute. And that whole conversation around accountability versus being a victim is so encapsulated right there in that number 2. Because when you really want to grow, people holding you accountable, you holding you accountable, all the pressure that's involved in starting a new business and launching and getting the tools right and all that stuff, it feels awesome. You're excited every single day. Yes, 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 yes. Here's the thing. If that is not what's kind of fueling you, it's horrible. You hate it, right? So just recognize which side of that you fall into. Number 3. Go ahead, Alex.
Stop wasting time.
Yeah, with an exclamation point, man. You know what? We get far too little of it as it is, so just stop wasting it. Dana, go ahead and give us number 4.
Businesses are built to earn a profit and nothing else.
Yeah, so I want to make sure that we all underline that, right? Businesses are built to earn a profit. You are business owners. So here's the thing. It's not okay if you're losing money. We have to talk about that. Don't think that that's just the way it works in real estate. That's not true. That is a falsehood that is pushed out into our industry. Just like it takes years to actually earn enough money to support yourself. No, that's not true. You can be making good money in real estate within 6 months if you do the right things. And because you run a business, I want to be certain that you know whether or not you are earning a profit or losing money, which means you have to track and keep a P&L. Number 5, go ahead, Jacqueline.
When you demonstrate high value, people stop complaining or worrying about what you are worth and instead just sit back and get ready to enjoy the ride.
Ooh, baby. I don't know if there's anybody else on this call who has experienced that. I will tell you I have experienced it personally. from my early days as a listing agent, where people would always try and nitpick me about commission and ask me about to cut it here. And, someone else offered me less, less, and I'm thinking of going there. When you demonstrate high value, when you build a value proposition that has no equal, and you walk in and prove to them that you are the one, here's what I've learned over time. They stop asking that question. They stop complaining about how much you cost. They stop asking you to reduce your numbers, and they just hire you. So remember, it's all about your value. If you're continually getting conversations in a listing scenario about how much you cost, you haven't built a large enough or powerful enough value proposition yet. You've got to raise your value, and then that stops. Number 6, go ahead, Nicole.
If you focus on listing count and manage it throughout the year, everything else will show up.
Praise Buddha on that one. My goodness. You should probably write that down. If you focus on listing count and manage it throughout the year, everything else just shows up. There is no truer statement in real estate. So if you're curious as to what you should be doing, the answer is finding listings. And then once you've found one, find another one. And when you find your second one, find 3 more. And once you got to 5, double it and go to 10. And then once you have 10, double it again and go to 20. And oh, by the way, you're going to be selling them, so that you're actually going to need to be doing a little faster than that, right? Because the idea is not to list them and collect them. They're not stamps or pennies. They're designed to be listed and then sold. So you got to just keep replacing. Number 6 is a really important one. Number 7, go ahead, Stuart.
Communication and gratitude are the root of relationship side of your business.
Communication and gratitude. You want to figure out how to have a rocket ship ride as a real estate agent? Have awesome communication skills and constantly be thankful. Constantly be thankful. All right, number 8, do your clients feel the mind-blowing customer service experience immediately or ever? Right? I think that's a really important question. Do your clients feel the mind-blowing customer service experience that you provide immediately or even ever? I think that's a business question that you can spend the next couple of weeks answering, right? How are you going to show up for your clients? Are they blown away after the first 10 minutes? Are they only blown away after you sell them a house? Do they ever really feel blown away? Because that will come back to bite you if they don't, right? Because that's called repeat and referral business. Number 9, go ahead, iPad. Anyone? iPad? Not sure. iPad, whoever's iPad and is unmuted. Okay, I'm going to mute you again then. Eric, go ahead and give us number 9.
All right, I'm sorry. 2 pillars should be delivering 2/3 of or better of your business. Pillars, they just spit out appointments, or they are not pillars.
Right, so we're going to start next week, maybe as soon as tomorrow, but certainly by Tuesday of next week, going through source of business, right? Source of business is massively important to find those pillars. Pillars, when you focus on a pillar of business, you know it's a pillar of your business because, again, it's just spitting out all of those appointments. Number 10, go ahead, Donna.
If we are not modeling best practices, then we are spreading bad habits to others.
There you go. It's not like there's best practices and less best practices. It's best practices or bad habits. Those are the 2 sides of the coin. So true. Number 11. Go ahead, Alex.
Warren Buffett says, invest in what you know. You are a real estate professional. Do you own investment real estate?
It's a question I want each of you to ask yourselves. If this is what you've chosen to do for a living, why wouldn't you also choose to grow wealth the same way? Number 12, Dana.
The fastest path to net $1 million is to clear your head then start hiring someone talented every 90 days.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you, I heard Gary say this last year or so, and I wrote it down and I thought to myself, you know, it's interesting because to put this on a document that we're going to utilize in a room full of people who are either launching or relaunching their businesses, is that the wrong message to send? And what I decided was, no, it's absolutely not. Right, I'm going to tell you a quick story of a gentleman by the name of Pat Hyben, who's a mega agent out of someplace down in Maryland. And when he came to Keller Williams probably 15 years ago or so, he had a team of about 30 or 40 people. It was like his own office, right? He was at Remax. He had this huge team. He came here, he reorganized the team, skewed it down to make it more efficient and effective so everyone was actually making more money. And he wrote a book called Six Paths to Seven Figures, I think it's called. And in it, he very specifically says, you know, one of the things that I did to really launch myself forward that allowed me faster success and a higher income over people who started at the same time as me is I very quickly understood that what I was really good at was finding and closing business. He said I was terrible at the rest of it. And so instead of deciding that, well, you know, I'm a solo agent or I'm newer in the business, so I have to just suck it up and do all my own stuff, he said, I went out and proved myself right by hiring not one, but two different administrative people before he had started to make much money at all. As a business owner, he decided to invest in people that then created time for him to do all the stuff that he knew was going to bring him income. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating that you all go out and hire assistants. However, there are systems that the Market Center has for you that are free that you can leverage. There are opportunities for you to hire virtual assistants that could do some of that work for you, right? Don't fall into the trap of thinking that, well, I'm new in the business, or I'm relaunching my business, or I don't make enough money yet, so therefore I can't hire someone, or I shouldn't hire someone. You should hire someone the second you realize that your talents are best spent finding and converting and closing business. Number 13, go ahead, Kristen.
You've got to get over it in terms of hiring a full-time assistant. When done properly, that person will add 18 to 24 closings to your year.
Yeah, that's really quite true. If you hire the right person, you'll double your business, right? Now, many of you are sitting saying, well, I haven't closed 18 to 24 myself yet. Well, imagine if you had someone to do all the busy work that you naturally gravitate to instead of doing all the lead gen and lead conversion work that you know you should be doing. So if you've closed zero, well, maybe hiring that assistant would actually push you to 18 to 24 within your first year. I don't know, it's just something to think about. Number 14, go ahead, Eric.
This is a funny one. Do you plan for low-end pay and expect high-end talent? Well, you get what you pay for every time. Makes me think
no
about
truer words.
When you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Yeah, there you go. I love that. I'm going to change my thing to add that in there. Go ahead, Kate, give us the next one, 15.
Successful people are willing to do what others are unwilling to do.
Oh my goodness. Kate just gave us like the mother lode of all conversation pieces. Successful people are willing to do what others are unwilling to do. So as we move through this content in the next couple of weeks, as we hit things that you're like, ugh, yuck, I'm not sure I really want to do that. Remember number 15. The second you come across something that you pull back on, you need to decide to lean into it, because that's the thing that if you do it, will create growth for you, will create results for you. Because it's that same thing that most other people also have that visceral ick reaction to and decide to pull away from it. Successful people do the things that everybody else decides not to do. All righty, number 16. Go ahead, Karen.
The proper role for a virtual assistant is to support the full-time executive assistant. See number 14 above.
Yeah, right. So pay people for what you want them to do. Recognize that VAs are sometimes not quite enough depending on the place that your business is in. Number 17, Alex, go ahead.
What if you just decided to have a seller appointment every day?
Alex, could you read that one more time?
What if you just decided to have a seller appointment every day?
So let's stop a minute. Like, to me, we should just go home now for the evening after that one. Because what if you just decided that? What if you just decided that was your business, to have a seller appointment every single day? And you spent your time creating that. What do you think would happen to your business?
It would blow up.
Really successful.
Like the fastest rocket ship you've ever seen. Elon Musk, step aside. SpaceX, huh? Right, and so you can change that question to be a whole bunch of different things. What if you just decided to have a buyer appointment every day? What if you just decided to schedule 2 appointments every day?
Okay.
Welcome to VoiceOver. VoiceOver speaks descriptions.
Hello, VoiceOver.
Hello, voice.
Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for welcoming us, right? I will tell you that from an appointment perspective, the goal of our team leaders, right? Our team leaders work off of 40 appointments a month, which is 10 a week, 2 a day. And the idea is you just don't go home until that second appointment is booked. Like when you've booked 2 new appointments, then you get to go home. If you haven't, well, then you don't. And if you're already home, well, you just don't get to turn off, right? You gotta just keep pushing and pushing and pushing to hit those numbers. All right, I get really excited about that one, so. Number 16, nope, number 18. Whoever's unmuted, go ahead, Donna.
Me, this is for me. Leaders are readers. Earners are learners. What are you reading right now? And what are you learning? Woohoo!
Baby.
Makes me get tingly.
See that? Right? Leaders are readers, earners are learners. We talked about that yesterday, so we're not going to talk about it again. And yet, it's another question, right? What are you reading right now? What are you learning? How smart are you getting? Number 19. Go ahead, Diane.
Don't be afraid to fail. Just fail faster.
Yeah, that is so right. Ralph, give us number 20.
Quit whining and get to work.
I must say that's my favorite.
Like
Quit
that.
whining and just get to work. My goodness. It's like we've all practiced whining. What if you just decided to stop whining and just get down to work? It's not about the market. It's not about the buyers or the sellers or the other people. Just quit whining. Let's get to work, right? Number 21. Go ahead, Shirley.
Do you have uphill goals and downhill habits? No one ever goes uphill accidentally. Be on purpose.
That one I stole from John Maxwell, just to be fair. Right? John Maxwell talks about the fact that most people have uphill goals and downhill habits. You don't accidentally roll uphill. It takes work, right? You've got to be on purpose. Number 22. Go ahead, back to Karen.
I'm busy translates into I don't understand what to do with my time.
Oh man, that's another one of my favorites. I'm busy actually means I don't understand what to do with my time. I will tell you, I don't say that anymore simply because of that statement.
It doesn't sound good to say I'm busy.
Right? And here's the thing, when people call me and say things like, thank you for taking my call, I know you're so busy, it makes me cringe. Because what I hear is, thank you for taking my call. I understand you don't really know what to do with your time, so I'm glad you're spending some of it with me. Because I translate that in my head, that I'm busy thing. So if you ever call me or ask for an appointment or whatnot, please don't say I know how busy you are. We're all busy, right? There's no reason to preface that. It doesn't win you any points. And as a matter of fact, in my head, I start to hear it quite the opposite. Like, I just don't know what to do with my time. Number 23. Go ahead, Shirley.
Amplify your leadership. You will have more impact on more people.
Yeah, it fascinates me that real estate agents oftentimes don't think that leadership is a skill that is important to them. Guys, I will tell you, it's a massively important skill for you to continue to build and learn about, because when you know how to lead people, you do a better job, you do a more efficient and effective job with your buyers and your sellers. Instead of advising or guiding them, what if you chose to lead them? Right? People follow leaders. Number 24. Okay, Stuart.
Can't afford to buy an or another investment property this year, sell more houses.
Yeah. Yep. And you know what? You could take out investment property and stick anything in there. You can't afford to do something this year. Well, here's the good news. You live inside of an industry where the only person who gets to put a cap on your income is you. So you need more money? Just go sell more houses. Can't afford something that you want? Go sell more houses. Right? That one goes along with number 20 that Ralph read. Quit whining and just get to work. Stop whining about what you don't have and just go sell another house. Imagine if you spent the time whining about not having the money, lead generating and lead converting for the things that you want. Number 25. Karen.
What does your collateral material look like? Do you have a buyer's guide, a seller's guide, a real estate investing guide, a second home vacation guide, a pay your kids' college tuition through real estate investing guide? You need these to either create or support conversations.
Yeah. So again, that's, we talked earlier about your collateral, about your stuff. We're gonna walk you through where to find a lot of the foundation of this stuff and get you through that. But you need to look like a professional, right? So you need to have collateral material. We'll assist you with that. Number 26, go ahead, Shirley.
Well, this is a good one for me. If you have more buyers than you know what to do with, you need a showing assistant or a buyer's agent. You do not need to drop your listings focus in order to surface those buyers.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. And it's a mistake that a lot of us make, right? Especially when we start to get more and more buyer heavy, we think, oh man, I need to stop my lead generating because what would I possibly do with more people? I can't service the ones that I have, right? That's when you go like this, help. And we will help you hire someone, either short-term or long-term, to help you through that so that you can continue to keep your focus on building your business. If you stop the building to service the clients, you get a roller coaster ride of income, right? And you're not capitalizing on momentum. Number 27, go ahead, Diane.
Residential agents don't talk about investment opportunities, so our clients don't think that we do that. And then go and seek out a commercial agent for help with investments. Let's change that.
Yeah, right. So as residential agents, we have to remember that we have to have a focus for our database on helping them create wealth through real estate, right? When we don't talk about it, they think that we don't do it. And then when they want to do it, they don't come to us. So you've got to make sure that they know that that's something that you can help them with. Number 28. Go ahead, Mara.
Read MREA and MREI again.
There you go. Right. Read the red book, read the blue book. Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Millionaire Real Estate Investor. If you haven't read them, read them. If you've read them not in the last 12 months, read them again. Nicole, number 29.
The definition of profitability is that you have money left over to fund business growth and investment.
That's right. Right. The definition of profitability is not more vacations, although that could come later on. Right. The definition of running a profitable business is that you now have money left over to fund the growth of the business and invest. That's when it all starts to snowball and get really big. And to bring us home, Alex, give us number 30.
The whole idea of capping is that you get to keep 30% more money to invest and grow wealth. Go.
There you go. Thank you for the punctuation on go. It was well done. Here's the thing. So many people don't understand our capping model. You get paid at 70-30, right? Once you cap, you get paid at 100% for the rest of your anniversary year. And there's a reason that it's designed that way. And the reason it's designed that way is so that you can build a life based on 70-30, get to your cap faster and faster each year, right? We have agents who spend 11 months of the year capped because they cap in their first month. I think the record is about 3 weeks, right? So they uncapped and then recapped again in 3 weeks. When you build a life based on 70% and then you spend all or part of your year or much or part of your year at 100%, the idea is that you take that 30% and use it to grow the business, use it to fund investments, use it to buy that investment property, use it to accumulate more wealth because you have these extra funds. Don't build a life based on the 100% and then have to push towards the 100% faster and faster to make sure that you're able to pay for all the lifestyle choices you've made. That's another way of saying build a life based on a lifestyle that is probably 50% or so of what you can actually afford. Live below your means. You want wealth to come into your world? Live below your means for as long as you possibly can. And then one day you'll look up and say, oh man, look at all that accumulated. Now I have some different choices. I don't quite have to live below my means as much anymore. But by that time, it'll be such a habit that you won't want to change it. And then what you have just compounds even more. It's the beauty of building wealth. Oh, I get all tingly when I talk about it. So much fun. All right, so guys, I hope those were useful to you. Somebody unmute and tell me what you thought about those 30. Yes, ma'am.
If you follow all of them, you're going to become rich.
Yeah, you know what? You will certainly achieve, right? You will certainly achieve. And if you manage your money well, wealth might show up, right? But it certainly points you in the direction of achievement. What else, Georgia?
It kind of simplified the whole business as a whole for me because I spend a lot of time worrying in my head when I can be using all that energy and that brain space on actually doing the work.
Yeah, I love it. You know what worry actually is, Georgia?
What?
It's mental whining. And if you look at number 20, it says, quit whining and get to work, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny. And what's powerful about what you just said, Georgia, is that you already know that about yourself, right? And so now you can just kind of be on the lookout. Oh, I have mental whining coming on, right? That shows up for you as worry. And then you can just set it aside. Right? So, and to George's point, understand that emotion is going to show up some way, shape, or form. It'll be different for each of us. I had a director when I was when I went to school as an undergraduate drama major, and I had a director when I was in either late high school or early college, I can't remember which, who would say to me, okay, break a leg, it's opening night. How do you feel? I'm like, well, I feel good. I'm nervous, but I feel good. And it doesn't matter how rehearsed you are, right? You feel that in those nerves. And he said, you know what? Here's the thing. The night you don't feel nervous is the night you should worry. Because now you've gotten so complacent that you're probably not delivering the goods the way you should. So use that nervousness, and just nervousness and excitement are the same version. It's the same version of energy, just showing up slightly differently in your body. So just pivot, take those nerves and turn it into excitement and go. Okay, Kate, and then Diane, then we're off to the races.
I was going to say something similar, but just kind of getting out of your own head, when you think things are going to go one way and then they take a hard left and stop or don't go. And then I kind of get stuck there sometimes where I feel disappointed, and it's like, nope, just get right back at it,
So true. So true, right? You fall off the horse, just get back on. Somebody knocks you down, you know what? Decide that happens all the time. It's just the way it is, right? Don't spend too much time feeling about it. Just kind of push it aside and move forward. Diane, bring us home.
Yeah, I just want to give you an analogy. In 2007, I left my big corporate job to move to Connecticut so that my son could play hockey. And, you know, when I was taking him here or there, whenever there was a road that went up, I always took it. And he said, Mom, this isn't the way home. And I would say, you know, but it is, we'll get you there, but you know, it's just more interesting to go up and to find, you know, another way around. And I think that's really resonated on him. He's just so adventurous now. And, you know, and it's like an enthusiasm that I have and that I want to do in my life. You know, I always look for a road up.
Yeah, I love that. Choose the road less flat.
Yeah.
Well done, well done, well done. All right, guys, so I hope that was helpful. A little change of pace for those of you who are repeat offenders, and we'll get right back into our content. And so if you remember, we left off yesterday having done 5 of the 6 personal perspectives. We've kind of already beat the horse good and dead on personal perspective number 6, that is be accountable, right? I just want to mention to you as we finish up those 6 personal perspectives, the opposite of accountability is not no accountability, right? Unfortunately, the opposite of being accountable is being a victim. That's the other side of that coin. And so recognize that again, one of the choices that you get to make is I'm going to step into being accountable to myself to grow and run this business. And if you choose not to be accountable, the flip side of that coin is victim. And when I say that, a lot of people are like, well, that's not true. You can be not accountable and not be a victim. No, that has not been my experience. In my 51 and whatever couple of months of life, that has not been my experience. I find that oftentimes people try to avoid the stamp of being a victim via semantics, and yet you're either accountable or you are a victim. One of those two things is going to be true. So recognize that. I said it yesterday, you get to take 150% responsibility, credit for all the positive things that you create for yourself. And you also get to take 150% responsibility for all the stuff that you wish was different, right? If it's to be, it's up to me, right? That should be your motto. You've got to just keep recognizing that this, as a business owner, you're the decision maker. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't wear different hats. Right, let's talk for a second about minimally the 2 hats that you wear. What are the 2 hats that you wear in your business? Anybody have a thought on that? Nobody has a thought? Not one person? Karen.
Well, I feel like in my business, I'm definitely the leader. I'm the one who determines what needs to be done and set the goals. And I guess I'm also the one who's doing it. So I'm also the worker.
There you go. Nail on the head, right? I call it the CEO and the employee, right? That's exactly what Karen just said. She gets to be the CEO and lead the business forward, make the tough decisions, set the course, set the standards. And when you're a solo agent, you also get to be the sole employee that gets to show up and actually do all the stuff the CEO just outlined. And so here's another question for you. As you continue with your business growth and you have your CEO hat on, ask yourself, the CEO, the question, how's my employee doing? Does the employee deserve a raise? Do I need to find someone new? Maybe this isn't working out, right? You need to be really clear with yourself as the CEO of your operation to judge the employee side of you realistically. And that can sometimes be difficult. And yet again, as business owners, we are called upon to be both. If it were me, because I tend to be a little bit more literal than maybe is necessarily efficient or effective. And yet, if it were me today, I would literally get myself 2 hats. One that said CEO and one that said employee. So that when I was having a meeting about my business growth or planning for the next year or reviewing things, bam, my CEO hat would be on. So I knew exactly what I was making decisions and how I was making decisions. because the CEO sometimes makes decisions in the business that the employee is not going to like deciding that 2 hours a day, every day is spent on lead generation and conversion. If we expect to move forward, like the decision of what if we just chose to have a seller appointment every single day? The employee pushes back on all that stuff. Oh man, do you not know how hard that is? Oh man, I don't want to do that. That means I have to actually call people and talk to people. Oh man, I'm not experienced enough to take a listing yet. I better do some more investigating and some more education for at least the next 12 to 15 months before I dive into that area. Right? These are the things that go through the employee's head. You have to be strong enough as the CEO to lay down the groundwork, and then as the employee recognize that the groundwork the CEO laid out is for the good of the business. The CEO didn't lay out the groundwork for the good of you, the employee. They laid out the groundwork for the good of the business. And as the sole employee, you get to go and just fulfill that mission or run the risk of being replaced. Let me know how that conversation goes. All righty. Any questions on the 6 personal perspectives? All right, so let's cruise forward. We will literally be here until July if I don't start moving a little bit faster. So let us in power session number 1, if you're following along, jump to page 19 if you would. Jump to page 19 in power session 1. We are still in power session 1 for those of you who are have that printed or on your screen. And page 19 talks about the big why. We're going to talk a smidge about the big why. Mostly that's going to be homework for you, and then move into setting financial goals and a pro forma inside of your business so that we can actually take your monetary needs and desires and turn them into appointment numbers. Anybody want to take a crack at the big why, what it looks like, what it is, why it's important? You can cheat. You can read a little bit if you'd like. Or any repeat students want to give us their version of what the big why is and why it's important? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the big why is, why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it, right? What gets you out of bed every morning and excites you to go and actually achieve? Go ahead, Barbara, what else?
No, I was just going to say motivation.
Yeah,
That's what motivates you.
Yeah,
What gets you excited?
It's 100%, right? Part of that motivation. Bogdan.
Simon Sinek has a good one. I think it's a TEDx about finding your why.
Yeah, I love that. Right, there's a whole bunch of stuff. You can read the in the MREA, I think it's page 71 or 77. Gary talks about the big why. You can read just 19, 20, and 21 and 22. I think, yeah, 19 through 22 in your materials talks about the big why. Here's how I look at it. You've got to have a pretty important pull to get up out of bed every day and do the things that we need to do as business owners to create the momentum that will give you the lift to really soar the way you want to soar. And it can't just be, I need to pay the bills, I need to make money. And that's really the main reason we talk about this, is because I have just seen it over and over and over again. Here's why I know paying the bills is not a big enough reason, not a big enough why to pull people through when they decide I just don't want to. Because here's the thing, even the most disciplined among us wakes up some days and says, I just don't want to. I just don't want to. Right? And then you have to decide, well, what am I going to do to even though I don't want to actually go and get it done? Right? Exercise, running, eating, business, lead generation, like all those things, whatever it is you need to do. And so it needs to be a big enough reason. And so here's how I know that paying the bills is not a big enough reason. because I have coached far too many real estate agents who show up on a coaching call crying and say, oh my goodness, seems like there's a whole lot of emotion going on. Tell me what's happening. And they say, I don't know what else to do. I'm not making any money. I'm behind on my mortgage payment. I have a tuition payment for my kids' college that is I'm completely unprepared for. What do I do? I say, okay, well, let's go through and review your calendar first and foremost. Show me your calendar. Let's see what you're doing. Show me where the lead generation is happening. Show me your lead conversion. Show me where those appointments are happening. And they're not there. Right? They're not there. There's a reason that you're not making money. It's because you're not doing the things that actually lead to money. It's not hard. Right? And so then you ask the question, okay, well, how important is it for you to make money? Well, it's absolutely everything. I can't pay my bills. Okay, so then talk to me about why that's not showing up. Do you see, guys, if it was that important for that person to pay their bills, they'd be doing the activities that create income. So there's got to be a bigger reason, a bigger why than just paying the bills. And here's the other thing I'll say about creating a big why. It does not have to be life altering. It does not have to necessarily change the planet. Like, no one's asking you to become Gandhi or Mother Teresa. That's not the point of the big why. It has to be specific to you. It has to make sense to you. It has to help you through I don't wanna. And when I say it has to help you through I don't wanna, what I mean by that is it has to pull you through the I don't wanna to the I did it anyway. Right? And your big why will change over time. For some of you, you'll do this exercise and you'll come back and be like, oh, my big why feels like a little selfish. Right? It's kind of about me. If that's your big why, then that's okay. Like, don't judge it. No one's going to swoop in and say, oh, no, that is not philanthropic enough. Sorry, it does not count as a big why. It doesn't work that way. Right? My big why started very, very differently than the why I have today. Right? It started very selfishly. It was kind of all about me, all about my ability to create financial freedom for myself, all about a choice about whether or not I showed up for work or where I showed up to work from. And now over time, it's really more about continuing to create a legacy for my kids and my grandkids. Right? It's just kind of shifted. It's shifted away from me and more about them, because the things that I can do and build now, I'll enjoy. It will give me that financial freedom. I'll get to make those choices. I'll get to run INGITE from some place else in the world at some point, right? I'll be able to make those choices. I know those things are within my grasp at this point, but it doesn't mean you stop. You just kind of morph the big why now. And now it's about, well, how much bigger can it be built so that I'm leaving a legacy for my kids and grandkids? So what I'd like you to do is take 19 through 22 as a homework assignment and spend some time in the next 24 hours and bring that back tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow is 4 to 5:30. I'll just remind you again. And then for anybody who hasn't come to risk reduction, 6 to 8 is that risk reduction session for you. But this session will end at 5:30 to allow me a little time and you a little time to prep for 6 o'clock. We got to eat, so we got to find some time to eat, right? Any questions around the big why? Are you excited to do that exercise? Some of you don't look terribly excited.
Yes.
I know it's hard to express excitement on Zoom. Except try a little harder, will you? All righty. So let's move through now to a monetary goal, right? Page 23. Page 23. I want to just bring you through a quick exercise. For those of you who joined me the other day when we went through the 4 models of the MREA, this is just a fast version of the economic model, right? In business, it's often called a pro forma. How are you going to outline the income and expenses of the business so that you know what the business actually has to do to achieve it? And so everybody has an idea in mind. And if you don't, spend some time thinking that through. What is it that you either want or need to earn in the next 12 months? Don't get caught up in the fact that it's already the 3rd week of April and the third of the year is already gone. None of that matters. Just work in a rolling 12 months. The idea of calendar goals is way overrated. I'm going to advise that you stop looking at the calendar. Build your goals from today for the next 12 months, and then we're going to chop them down over 12-week periods of time, right? We're going to take quarters at a time and figure out what the next quarter looks like. So the next 12 months, what is it that you desire to earn? Are you the sole breadwinner in your family? That's one number. Are you oops. You all froze. Am I back? Are you back? Okay, good. So, I'm not sure what you heard. So are you the sole breadwinner in your house? Well, that is one number. Are you a secondary breadwinner in your house? That's a different number. Does your income support something specific? Like, so does your income send the kids to college? And if there's multiple incomes in the house, maybe one income runs the household and the other saves for college or sends the kids to college, and you're responsible for that, right? So you just understand what that is. Know what the money is going to be used for. What I've learned in my life is that if you don't give the money a purpose, it oftentimes decides not to show up, right? So give the money a purpose. Is it $100,000? Is it $200,000? Is it $300,000? What is that amount for you? And then we go through an exercise. I'm going to do it verbally. Maybe I should write it. So Ralph did go ahead and share the document again. He's going to start charging us a fee for that. So if you could all bring your stuff. No, I'm kidding. I think who asked for that? I think it was Nicole, who wasn't here last night, right? Yes, indeed. So there it is in the download, in the chat, Nicole, for you to download if you need it.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. And so take that number, right? Whatever that number is. Let's use $100,000, right? So $100,000 in your pocket to run your business means you have to think about 2 other things first, right? The first thing is, in order for you to have $100,000 in your pocket, you've actually got to pay who?
Williams, IRS.
Right, so those are the 2, right? You have to pay Uncle Sam and you have to pay the brokerage. And so I want to take your $100,000 and kind of gross that up to include you paying your taxes as well as you covering your market center numbers, right? And so if you have $100,000 in your pocket idea and you are setting aside 30% for taxes, you're going to take that $100,000 and divide by 0.7, right? In order to gross up your income to include the money you have to pay in taxes. So it makes that $100,000 actually $143,000. You see how that works? And oh, by the way, you also have to pay the market center. right? And so we have a couple of different market centers here on the call today, and the numbers are slightly different, but let's just call it, between a cap and royalty, let's just call it an average of about $37,000 that you have to pay, right? Just to kind of give us an averages. So if you take that 143 and you add 37 to it, you get $180,000 in gross commission income that you have to close in order to put $100,000 in your pocket, right? After you pay the market center and pay the IRS and Department of Revenue Services. Everyone with me? So looking at $180,000 in gross commission income, you now need to make some assumptions about your business. They're there on page 23. What is your average sale price? What is the average commission rate that you typically earn, which will give you your average commission per closed side, gross. So if you don't know what your average numbers are, you can simply use the market center averages, right? The market center average sale price is about $450. And the market center average commission per side is about 2.5%. So that gives you $11,250 as your average commission that you earn every time you have a closing. Everyone following me so far? So you have $180,000 in gross commission that you need to earn in order to earn the number that the amount that you'd like. And every time you have a closing, you earn $11,250 of that $180,000. So if you divide the $180,000 by the $11,250, what do you get? You get the number of units you have to close in order to hit your $180,000 target.
16.
You see how that works? Right, and Sherry Lee gives us 16, which is 100% right. So 16 units at a $450,000 price point, right? Now, if you've been around for a while longer and you know that your average price point's a little higher, right, and you can prove it, like Christine, what is your average price point? It's going to be higher than 450.
It's just over $1 million.
Yeah, right. So now Christine's been around long enough that she has 2 years of proof. She can go back and say, look, this is my average from last year and this is my average from the year before. So when you blend it all together, my average is actually, $1,000,001 or $1,074,000 or whatever it is, right? And you round up or down to a number on that. But unless you can prove it like Christine can, I don't want you to use numbers that are bigger. I don't want you to think, well, I'm going to specialize in the luxury market, so therefore I'm going to build a business plan as if I've already done it. Because Christine, let me ask you this, in the early part of your career, was your average sale price lower? You may be a bad example.
Not really. No, I've always kind of maintained that. I kind of started at that level and I'm kind of still in that level.
Well, there you go. Like I said, you were probably a bad example, but, and
no, which just makes me think I should probably be reaching for, $2 to $3 million as my average price point.
Well, there you go. Don't give up the day job at $1 million while you're searching for the 2 to 3. Keep the $1 million day job, and then we'll push you further, right? But recognize that it's going to be slightly different for each of you. And yet, if you don't have 2 solid years, I want you to just use the market center averages, right? Because I don't want you to project and then be disappointed. Because remember, just to give you the difference there, at Christine's average sale price, she earns about $25,000 for every closing. So if she were looking to earn $180,000 with that average sale price, 16 becomes 7 or 8 units, right? You sell half the number of units to earn the same amount of money, right? It's not a bad gig if you can get it. So it's just a matter of focus. So everyone's with me so far? We've just calculated the number of units you need to close in order to hit your target numbers. So let's just go back to the 450 number as the average. and the $100,000. So it's 16 closings. Let me ask you this question real quick. Is that higher or lower or just about what you thought in order for you to pocket $100,000 after you've paid the market center and your taxes?
It's higher.
It's higher than you thought. Yeah, that is typically what most people say. It's like, I kind of thought I'd have to sell only maybe 10 or 12 to hit that, right? Now, remember, we added your taxes in there. That's like 40 grand in taxes. So if you weren't taking your taxes into consideration, the first thing I would suggest is come to my class tomorrow called The Real Estate Agent and Taxes, and I will teach you what you need to know about how taxes work in this industry and how you should kind of look at them and work towards climbing on top of them. So if you flip to page 25, here's the last piece of this. I'm going to give you a shortcut now, right? So the shortcut now says 16 closings for you to pocket that $100,000. We have to get now from closings to appointments. And if you read the MREA, there's a bunch of different conversion numbers that you would go through. I'm going to simplify it for you. We're going to call the conversion number, the conversion ratio, 3.5 to 1. So for every 3.5 appointments that you have, every 3.5 new appointments that you have, you will create, as it filters through the funnel, 1 new closing. So if you have 16 closed units that you need to achieve in order to hit that financial target, you're going to multiply that 16 by 3.5, which gives you 56 appointments for the year. Now, 56 appointments for the year may sound like a lot, may sound like a little. Let's do this. Let's boil it down to what you need to do every week. So now most of you don't work 52 weeks in a year. So I like to encourage people to divide by 48. If you already know that you go away for, a full month in the summer, plus you have Thanksgiving week and the week between Christmas and New Year's and other opportunities. So you may divide by 40. You know your calendar better than anyone else. But generally speaking, we're in divide by 48 because most people will take 2 or 3 weeks vacation and then have some holiday time, right? And so if you divide by that number, 56 by 48 weeks, you get 1.17 appointments per week. Now here's the fun thing about appointments. You never get to round down, no matter what the math says. You always get to round up. So 1.17 is not 1.17 appointments every single week. It's 2. Why? And the answer isn't because Rick is mean. Why do you round up as a business owner? Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I nodded off there for a second.
You can't take a fractional appointments, and this way it covers for that not every appointment's going to work out to becoming a listing.
Exactly right. Dana hit the nail on the head twice, right? There's no such thing as a fraction of an appointment, and you need to build in cushion, right? Because cushion is just a reality in business. Not everything is going to work the way you thought it would. Not everything is going to close. Not everyone is going to say yes. Some people will say yes and then change their minds. Life happens to your clients, right? Stuff shows up. So 2 a week, 2 new appointments a week. Talk to me a little bit about how that sounds. First, talk to me about how it sounds versus 56 or 60 appointments in a year. Does it sound easier or harder than the big number?
It's easier, it's doable.
Yeah, it sounds way easier, right? And so then the question is, does it seem like you can accomplish that? No one's committing? Karen committed.
Yes, I can do it.
Awesome.
Yes.
Right? So here's the thing.
I'm committed. No, it
Your
sounds so
number-
much easier. When I first did that, sorry, when I first did that, when I first came to Keller Williams, it was such a huge aha moment, like this is very attainable to do.
Yeah, and it's fascinating when you just kind of boil it down, because here's what I want you to think about, right? Many of you came to real estate from a different career, right? And when you were in your different career, you got up Monday through Friday and sometimes Monday through Saturday, depending on the career that you came from, and you went to work and you worked an 8 or 10 hour day. If you are a full-time real estate agent and you decide to get up and show up and work like it's a real job, right? That's not a judgment. It's just an observation that oftentimes when we think about real estate, we don't think about it like our corporate job or our last experience. Guys, it's the same. It requires you to get up, come to work, put in a full day's worth of work, maybe do a little at night to make sure you're ready for the next day, and then get up and do the same thing the next day. Right? Especially if you're just starting or launching the business, because now you have to do the activities that create the business, and you also may have to do some preparatory work, some tool building, some other infrastructure work. Right? So what's fun is that we're going to spend tomorrow and maybe part of Monday, when do we meet next week? Tuesday. So tomorrow and then a good part of Tuesday, showing you all the different places that you can find those appointments and how you go about doing it. Right? But I want each of you, as another little piece of homework between now and tomorrow, to run those numbers for yourself. How much do you desire to earn? And why? Remember, I want you to define what the money is going to be used for. Because if you don't define what it's going to be used for, again, my experience is it doesn't show up. So I want you to take that step. Don't just pick a number out of thin air. Give every dollar a job. What's it going to do? Are you going to pay your living expenses and your business expenses and also get yourself out of debt? What is that debt amount? Is there $20,000 on a credit card? So what is the number that you need for running your business? What's the number you need for running your household? Or at least your contribution to running your household, if it's not all you. And then what are the extras that you're going to get done with? Is there a student loan that you intend to get rid of this year? How much is that? Is there debt? Are you going to pay off the car? Are you going to pay off the house? What are you going to do? Right? And how much does it cost to do that? And then determine how that's going to fit into the pro forma that you're running. Because here's what I want you to start doing. I want you to start waking up on Monday morning saying, you know what? I am going to do what I have to do today to be able to check off that student loan debt. I want you to get on purpose about what those appointments actually fund, instead of, I just need to create appointments, right? Give it a reason and make it a reason that is important to you. These 2 appointments this week are going to send my kid to the college of his or her choice, or continue to keep my child enrolled in the college that they already chose. Right? Whatever that is, maybe you're saving for your first house. Those 2 appointments, do it room by room, right? break down your appointments 2 a week. How much square footage of your brand new house are you going to take care of each week? That's a fun little number. Make it a game. Right? Make it a game. It's like you're building your house brick by brick, appointment by appointment. But do you see what I'm asking you to do? I'm asking you to connect the 2 things. Don't create a pro forma that says I need to do this in my business and have it be completely disconnected from what's important to you in your life. When you connect the 2 together, guess what? you are far more inclined to actually hit those numbers when you know why you're doing it. Make sense?
Rick, I know you said you're going to talk a little bit more about this next week, but could you just dimension the notion of appointments a little bit more, just for like new people? You know, is an appointment a listing appointment where you actually secure a listing? Is an appointment having coffee with someone and letting them know for the first time you're in real estate? Is it finding a buyer? I mean, what do you qualify as appointments?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Doug. Thank you for asking it. What I would say to you is it depends. And trust me, you'll get used to that answer from me, because a lot of my answers are it depends, because there's an answer for someone who is in real estate for about 7.5 minutes, and then there's an answer for a more experienced real estate agent. They're very similar, and that there is a slight tweak. The general answer is an appointment is a conversation about real estate with a potential buyer or a potential seller. So it's someone who has raised their hand via communication with you. So you're lead generating, or you're marketing, or whatever you're doing to attract or prospect for someone to raise their hand, that when you say, do you know someone who might be interested in buying, selling, or creating wealth by investing in real estate? They say, yes, me. And so the appointment then comes after that. You're setting that appointment in that either telephone call or text or whatever. And the appointment now is someone who has raised their hand and said, I'm interested in understanding more about being a seller, being a buyer, or figuring out how to invest in real estate. One of those three things. Now, if you're brand new to the industry, that may sound way harder. The answer is not different necessarily for you, except what I would do for the first 30 or 60 days, not much longer than that, but the first 30 or 60 days, is start to give yourself, I want you to start building the habit. And this goes for anyone who's never really done client acquisition, lead generation, and conversion at a consistent level before. I want you to build that muscle. And so one of the ways that you continue to be excited about building that muscle is to see some results. And if you're having conversations and no one's raising their hand, it starts to get a little debilitating after a while. So what I would say is, for the first 30 or 60 days, give yourself credit for the coffee that you have that Doug mentioned, right? Maybe you're going to reach out to somebody to say, hey, you know what? I just opened a powerful real estate firm. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about it. Could we have some coffee, right? Those are going to be people in your database, generally speaking, the people who know you, like you, trust you, and are already predisposed to do business with you. So those coffees, those appointments, maybe it's a Zoom, maybe it's not in person, maybe it's an adult beverage instead of coffee. You get to choose, right? Whatever works for you and for the person you're attempting to attract. For the first 30 or 60 days, as you're building this habit, what I would encourage you to do is give yourself credit for those coffees. And what you'll start to find over time is, wow, I can actually create 2 appointments a week. That's actually pretty simple. Now what I'm going to do is up the ante. So the third set of 30 days, so like days 61 through 90, you're going to up the ante. And you're going to continue to look for those coffee arrangements, but only start to give yourself credit for the ones that actually raise their hand and say, yeah, I now want to have a follow-up appointment to this coffee to figure out how I'm going to purchase an investment property, or what my home is actually worth, because I didn't realize the market was going gangbusters. And you start to pivot away from giving yourself check boxes just for the coffees and move more towards the actual appointment with a potential buyer or potential seller. Does that help, Doug?
Yes, thank you. That was very clear.
Excellent. And guys, I mean it, because it's so easy to sit in a classroom setting and say, Okay, so I guess tomorrow I just have to like magically start making appointments with people who want to buy or sell real estate when I'm not even really sure I know how to do any of that. I totally get how that sounds to some of you because you're brand new, and so I appreciate Doug's question in that I don't mean to say that you should just know everything immediately. What I mean to say is the main focus for everybody on this call starting tonight or tomorrow is to start talking to people, to start greasing the wheels. Give yourself some early victories when you have those coffees. And then you get to make the choice. Maybe you give yourself 2 weeks, maybe you give yourself 30 days, no longer than 60 days, because now it starts to push things out too far. To build the muscle of talking to people about real estate, and then pivot and raise the stakes for yourself, raise the standard, change the standard for yourself. Those of you who are second timers, or those of you who have been in business for 6 months or more, you don't get that. Sorry. Unless you really haven't ever spent time consistently lead generating. But I want you to cap that at 30 days, right? Because you know more of what you need to do than someone who's in the business for 25 minutes. And so I want you to build the muscle quickly and then pivot and then, right? Because here's what's real, guys. The faster you take that pivot and raise the standard, the faster the closing checks start to show up. Right? And so I'm assuming that no one's here just for the fun of it, right? That the goal of being in this class and getting your real estate license is because you're interested in actually earning a living inside of real estate, whether that's a full-blown living or a supplementary living, whatever that choice is for you. I'm assuming you're not here just because you're bored, right? And even if you are here just because you're bored, you still have to determine what the dollars you're going to earn are going to do for you, or they won't show up. So even if you're here, I have that every once in a while. Someone says, well, you know what, I don't really need to make money. I'm kind of interested in, like, okay, well, A, tell me how you accomplish that, because I'd like to follow in your footsteps. B, what if you did make money? What does that contribute to? Have you decided that you're just any real estate income you make is going to fund your grandkids' colleges? You're going to start 529s today and just funnel all that money in there, or do you have a charity or charities that you support? Right? If it's not for you, who is it for? Let's just define it, because trust me, if you don't need it, the world needs your help. So let's figure out who needs that and how we're going to fund what you're going to fund, so that you can be on purpose about it. That removes the level of casualness from you starting a business, right? Because one of the things that I understand quite well at this point in my career is casual and business launch or business growth. Those two things don't go together, right? You've got to be on purpose about these things. That may have been a longer answer, Doug, than we were hoping for, and yet you'll get used to it. It gets less annoying after you're around for a while. Any questions on that? Excellent. Thank you for asking it, because it was a question that needed to be addressed, and I appreciate you putting it on the table, because you weren't the only one thinking it. All right, let us. We go to 7:30 tonight, right? No? All right. Let's do this. All right, turn to page 31 if you would. Turn to page 31. Let's just talk a little bit about some habits that you need to get really comfortable with over the course of the next 4 weeks, because they will be habits that if you create a comfort level around them in the next 4 weeks and then never ever stop doing them for as long as you are in business, you will never have the regret of, my business didn't succeed the way I thought it should. Right? And so 31 outlines the 4 activities, the 4 habits that you need to start building some muscles around. Habit number 1, grow and maintain the database. Right? Grow and maintain the database. Now, many of you ask a lot of questions around, okay, what does that database look like? Where am I supposed to find these people to put in the database? Right? I don't have a database. Liar, liar, pants on fire. You do have a database. Do me a favor, because I'm sure for most of you, it's not far from your person. Hold up the thing that you own that looks something like this. There we go. Hold it up for the camera. Show everybody. There you go. You have a database. It's in your phone. Right? It's not in your calculator, Eric. I did see that you held up the calculator. You may have to look elsewhere. Right? Here, do me a favor. Go to your contacts in your phone. Let's play a game. Click on contacts and then scroll all the way down past Z. It will tell you how many contacts you have in your phone at the very bottom. If you have an iPhone. If you don't have an iPhone, I don't know where you find that.
3,047.
Holy crap, Sherry Lee, that's a lot.
I think they have to be duplicates. So I can think.
Right? So I have 1,610. What is that number for you? Now, I have 1,610. Probably I have about, probably 2/3 of those people, if I actually reached out to them and said, hey, it's Rick Scott, would know who I was when I said that. Right? So be careful that you're not quite all that, just if you have tons of people in there, right? Because oftentimes I speak to someone one time and I'm concerned that they might call me back and I don't want to not see the name, so I put the name in. And I couldn't tell you who it is. So we all have those people in our phones. But the point is, if you're looking for a place to start, or if you are an experienced agent and you've never done the exercise of actually going through your phone and making sure that they're in your command, in your CRM in command, go ahead and do that. Make sure you're not missing anybody. So minimally, you all have a place to start because the contacts in your phone are your database. Remember, your database is built first and foremost of people who know you, like you, and trust you and are predisposed to do business with you. Where better to get those people than from your phone? Boy, that was a very, very awkward sentence to have to say. Where are some other places that you might be able to find database if you're just kind of now collecting it? Yes,
Facebook.
Doug. Yes, Mara, that's Facebook. Absolutely.
Sorry.
Where else, Doug?
LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, so all of your social media platforms, right? Go through all your social media platforms and see who you're connected with, who are your friends, who are your whatevers, and make sure that you have that database, that info pumped into your database. What else?
If you're still in corporate, your internal directory.
Yeah, let's talk about internal directories because they exist both in corporate companies, they exist like at schools that your kids go to, the sports leagues that your kids might be involved in, church has a directory. You know, it's all those things that say at the bottom of the inside front cover, not to be used for business purposes, all of those. And here's what I've learned over time. You know what? The reality is I'm going to choose to beg forgiveness instead of ask permission on that one and feather those folks in, especially if I know them. If I have no idea who they are, well, that's just kind of annoying, right? But if I know who they are, like there may be 30 or 40 people that go to my church who I know. right? And I just don't have them any other place except in that church directory. Maybe I have friends of my kids whose parents I know, like when I go to the softball game, we sit and talk to each other. We've had dinner once, whatever, right? Utilize those opportunities to fill your database. And the reason I say beg forgiveness instead of ask permission on that is because you're not going to fill a database for the express purpose of annoying people. That's not the point, right? The point is to serve people. The point is to contribute helpful information. The point is to create a system that allows you to be top of mind because they're getting things that are interesting to them and that they would ask for anyway, right? We're going to talk about that. What time is it? We might talk about that shortly before we go today in terms of a 36 touch program. We'll touch on that shortly or tomorrow, first thing. So back to page 31. Habit number 1, grow and manage database. Well, you now know where foundationally you can get started from that. Just start with your phone. Feather in those social media platforms and feather in the directories. Bam, you've got yourself a real estate database. You'll notice the activity that's associated with that. Add 10 new contacts into your database every day that you work. Here's what's important about that. Some of you may decide to do 10 at a time over the course of the next 4 weeks to get those names from wherever they are into your database. Some of you might just decide to do one big data dump, right? We'll talk tomorrow about the pros and cons of each of those versions of moving your database into Command. However, the add 10 contacts a day into your database is not really designed for the initial data dump to get your database up and running. It's designed as a business mindset. It's designed for you to recognize that your database is constantly evolving. Your database isn't just done after you hit a certain number, right? You're always searching for additional people to add to that database. You host open houses, you meet new people. You call expireds, you meet new people. You run ads, you might be in contact with new people. Life changes create new opportunities for you to meet new people, right? With hobbies that you do, events and activities that you do. As your kids get older, they go through different stages, different sports, different grades, different phases of life, whatever, right? There's different opportunities. And so you're constantly touching new additional people. And so I want you to get really clear about the fact that that habit is not a one and done. It is the journey of building your business database. Your business database is a living, breathing, well, I'd call it a document, but it's not really a document, a living, breathing thing, right? That changes over time. People will come in, people will move out. Here's the danger. Don't think that you can just build it once and forget about it, because then it stagnates. Right, just like a pond, you need to have that aeration thing going. So the little fountain in the middle is always providing both visual and practical benefits. That's what you have to do with your database. Habit number 2, prospect. And that activity is speak with 10 people in your database every single day. I don't know about you, but if I was building it, what if you just decided to build it 10 people a day until you were done? Because you could then move those 10 people and at the same time reach out to them and discuss with them one of 2 things. If your choice is, because these are people who already know you and they know you've made a career change, if your choice is to just remind them that you have opened a powerful real estate firm, you can go through and have those conversations. Or some of you may decide, you know what, I'm not going through and doing that. I'm just going to go and start asking for the business. That script is, hey, how's it going? Right? Start with a care call. The world is still weird. So check in, see how people are. How's it going? What's happening? Who's vaccinated? Who's not? Who got Pfizer? Who got Moderna? Who was supposed to get J&J and now you have to redo it? Or whatever. Right? There's lots of things to talk about in our bizarro world. So have a personal conversation, and then don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be afraid to pivot to say, hey, before I let you go, do you mind if I ask a quick business question? Because if you're calling people in your database, there is almost no one who will say no to that question. And then you get to follow it up with, great, thanks. I have massive goals this year to help 50 people buy, sell, or create wealth by investing in real estate. I have massive goals to help 15 people. I have massive goals to help 20 people, whatever your number is. And I wondered, who do you know that fits that description? Someone who's looking to buy, sell, or create wealth by investing in real estate. Notice the question is, who do you know, not do you know someone? That's an important distinction. Do you know someone can be simply answered with what? No. And you're kind of dead in the water. Who do you know opens their brain up and doesn't allow for a no? Right? It might allow for a, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. Well, then my response would be, well, that's okay, take a moment. You know, someone maybe at church or at work. Help them narrow their thinking. And if they still don't come up with anybody, that's okay too, right? We can end the call with saying, thank you so much for taking a moment to think about that. Hey, if you hear of anybody, would you do me the favor of giving me a quick text or a call, letting me know who they are so I could reach out to them ASAP? I would hate for someone important to you in a weak moment to hire a weak agent. See how that call works? So that second habit of prospecting is the activity of talking to people every single day. Guys, I can tell you I've watched agents hit that and kill it, crush it just really fast, and I've watched agents struggle with it year after year after year. If you're not interested in talking to people, this is going to be a tough road to hoe. It's just hard to make a living in real estate if you're not interested in talking to people, right? Your business will grow in direct relationship to the number of people that A, think about real estate when they think of you, and B, that you can actually connect with in the course of a day, week, or month. Habit number 3, follow up. Follow up, the fortune's in the follow-up. Did you ever hear that? If not, write that down. The fortune's in the follow-up. We can create database connections all day long, but how you actually convert is via follow-up. You have automated electronic follow-up, you have phone follow-up, you have follow-up via postcard, via social media. You have a ton of different ways that you can figure out how to follow up with people. The most powerful, face-to-face, Zoom to Zoom, and, dare I say it, text to text. Because I will tell you, in the last year or two, the ability to text back and forth with folks and actually secure appointments, I have been proven wrong that actually works better than perhaps it used to, right? Because people are less interested in actually talking on the phone. It's a little sad to me because talking on the phone, like face-to-face, phone to phone, Zoom to Zoom, is a little bit more human than communicating with your thumbs. And yet it is the world we live in. So don't leave that out, right? If you're trying to reach somebody Here's what I do. I call first. If I don't get them, I text and say, hey, just trying to reach you. When's a good time for me to call back? And oftentimes I'll get an almost instantaneous response. Like, well, did you purposely not take my call and now you're answering my text? And a lot of times the answer is yes, because people aren't interested or they're in a position where they simply can't stop and take a phone call, right? For many of us, for the last year, it's because we're on Zoom. Zooming something where you can text real quick, but to actually stop and take a phone call, less appropriate. So remember that the follow-up is where you will find all of that conversion. It's not about talking to somebody once. It's about talking to someone frequently enough that they remember what you do, and frequently enough that the next time you have a conversation, they may have just had a conversation with somebody who does need your services, or they themselves now need your services, not the last 3 times you spoke, but now they're being relocated and they need your services. So Debbie, I see that you joined the call, and do me a favor if you would unmute for a second, because you and I started to play with this, I don't know, 15 or 18 years ago, 177 years ago, something like that. I think it was 1923 or when we first started this conversation.
Only you are that old. I'm not that old.
I got it. And so what did we, when we really started to get consistent about lead generation, right, in our business, what was the thing that kind of fascinated us the most that we would hear over and over and over again when we were consistently lead generating into our database that just blew us away?
You mean the people that we talked to that we hadn't talked to for 10 years or whatever, and who didn't seem to realize that we hadn't talked to them in 10 years? They were happy to hear from us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then even more fascinating was that some of those people would say things to us like, I kind of can't believe you called me.
Oh, well, that happens all the time. Yes, right.
Right? When you have a level of consistency into your database, people kind of think that you've bugged their homes. It's like, we were just talking about you because we're being relocated, or, you know, Jim got a job down in Orlando. We're going to have to move, or, you know what, our child is having triplets and we're going to move closer to her because we're going to have to help out with the triplets.
Here's what I would add about this. We early on in our Keller Williams world, we set up a little competition with a couple of other agents in the organization, and to hear the metrics for what we did, it's like, oh, really? We could only do that many numbers. We said we will all dial 25 people in our database in a week, every week. 25, that's like nothing. And we did that for a month. We did that for the month of October. So we talked to 100 people each in that whole month, which is not a lot. We booked for the following year $100,000 in GCI in that month. And it was the month of October.
Yeah.
When the market wasn't doing what it's doing right now. So what's the point? The point is just do something. Choose to, as Rick says, talk to 10 people a day. That's swell. That's awesome. You'll book business, and do it every single day. Da-dun, 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 da-dun. It'll pay off.
Yeah, it's kind of like the law of compounding interest, right? It just starts to compound over time. And and that's true. I'd forgotten about that. We did book $100,000 in GCI. It wasn't immediate, right? But it was for the first quarter of the following year. And we were doing that prospecting in October of the year before. What's fascinating is that the thing that we didn't do as right as we maybe should have or could have is that we didn't keep doing it. right? We didn't go into November and book another 100,000 for the couple of months after that, and then do it in December for another, right? We were a little more sporadic. I mean, just to be transparent with you. However, what we knew was that system worked. And so the second that we started to look at the pendings and say, okay, well, we don't have enough pending right? We always, in our sales team, we liked to have $100,000 pending at all times, right? Now that didn't always show up. And so when we didn't have $100,000 pending to close, we would need to go back to the drawing board and create some more business, right? But what we knew was how to do it, because you just have to talk to more people. Again, it's not hard. It's not rocket science what we do. You talk to people, you offer your services. They either need them or they don't, or they know someone who needs them or they don't, and then you put them in a system that allows you to check in with them 90 days later and see where they're at, right? And in the meantime, you're offering services and a level of contribution about the market, about events, about stuff that keeps them engaged, just in case something happens between the time you're speaking to them this quarter and the next quarter. Doug.
Rick, when it comes to prospecting, what do you recommend in terms of sort of geographic distance? So say someone wants to build their practice out of Westport. Should we be prospecting with people that are 100 miles away, or is there a recommendation for like how close to your area of focus that people should be?
Yes, that's a great question. And it will not surprise you that my answer is going to be, it depends. And here's why it depends. If you're looking to build a business locally, right, you're going to look for conversations with people who live and work locally, because they will either own property locally or know people who are looking to move locally, or know of other people who own property or are looking to move and can refer you locally, right? That's kind of the duh part of the answer, right? The other side, though, that I don't want us to forget about, which is why the answer is it depends, is if you have relationships with people who used to live locally or work with you locally, who have moved to other parts of the country, well, what might they have locally, even if they don't live or work here anymore? Connections, right? They might have, exactly, they might have friends, they might have relatives, maybe their family was from here. Just because they live in San Francisco or Phoenix doesn't mean that they don't know people here. So communicating with people who are out of town or not geographically local, I think does have a benefit if in fact they are people who have some roots or opportunities to refer you business where you're looking to grow your business locally. You know, if it's a long lost cousin, right, that may be somebody who you put on more of a long lost cousin who's never lived in Connecticut, who's always lived in Texas, right? Now that long lost cousin may need help buying a house in Texas, so there could be an opportunity for you to refer that person to an agent down in Texas and make a referral fee on that. However, I'm not sure that I'd be on the phone quarterly with someone who only lives in Texas who has no roots locally, right? That may be a different system you put those people on, where you're just touching them maybe once a month with an email to make sure that they remember what you do. But the real heavy touch systems will be for more of those local folks. Does that help? Does that answer that?
Yes, yeah. And so, because I was thinking more like, I know a lot of people like in the Hartford area and, like within maybe 50 miles or so around here. And I'm just wondering like how, how useful it is to reach out to people like across the state is really what more of my question was.
Got it. And so across the state, I might have even a third kind of middle of the road answer, right? And that answer could be, well, you know what, perhaps what you do in the launching stage of your business is you add them to your database. You make those initial outreach calls to make sure that they know what you're doing currently, even if they're up in Hartford. But you cultivate a community that could be in the state within that 50 miles that you may never actually service personally, but why not have the opportunity to service them via a referral if in fact, while you're building your business, you can just import that group of people and kind of call them, these are my 50-mile radius group of people, and I'm going to put them on this program. And so maybe they only get a phone call once a year versus 4 times a year, but you've got another system running underneath, an automated system to remind them about what you do, so that the next time they're looking to buy, sell, or create wealth in Wethersfield or in, wherever, you don't necessarily get in your car and go. You may choose a colleague who lives or works closer or is more a specialist in that area that you would choose to do that and still create a business opportunity for yourself because of those relationships.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, no worries. Again, thank you for the question, because no relationship is worth discarding. Well, let me restate that, because I have come across a few in my career. Most relationships are not worth discarding, right? Unless you make a purposeful choice to discard them. I think I only did that twice. I think it was only 2 times. I remember the name of one of them, which will not be repeated. And I can't remember the name of the second one, but oh my goodness, they were probably 4 of the most horrible humans I have ever come into contact with in my entire life. And I thought to myself, I think I'd rather starve than have to do another transaction with this person. And so bam, they were we closed and they were out of my database. But the idea is don't let a relationship go to waste. See what it might turn into over time. And as your business grows and gets more localized, what you may choose to do is let some of that more peripheral stuff go, right? In the beginning, you may choose, if someone says, hey, you know what, I want to buy a house in Madison, right? You may decide, you know what, I have nothing else going on. This person's asking for my help. Even if I don't know Madison all that well, I'll be upfront with them about, look, I don't know Madison all that well. I'm happy to help you. You may have to kind of be the navigator, and we'll discover things about Madison together. Because again, if they're in your database, you may be able to get away with that because you have a relationship. And off you go to Madison to sell a house. And over time, you may decide, you know what, that's actually way too much time for me to be driving back and forth. I'd rather refer it and take a fee back while I'm building my local business. When I first started in real estate, I had a 10-town area that I worked. It was Ridgefield, Reading, Wilton, Weston, Easton, Danbury, Brookfield, Newtown, New Fairfield, and Bethel. Those are my 10 towns, right? I lived in Ridgefield, but the business that was available to me in Ridgefield was just simply not enough for me to achieve my financial goals. So I went to a 10-town radius, right? In those days, when I can remember thinking, driving to the ass end of Newtown. Oh my goodness, where am I going? Now it's just Newtown. But when I first moved here, what am I doing? Why can't I just my last listing was around the corner from where I lived. Don't get complacent, guys. There are a lot of people who get up every morning and take a 2-hour train ride to Lower Manhattan to go to work. So don't get whiny about, oh, I have to drive 32 minutes to take this new listing, right? Get over it, go and do it, create the income. But my point is, I had a 10-town area, and over time, what I found was in the periphery of some of those towns, it took more time and effort for me to service the periphery of those towns than it did for me to just find referral agents who would help me. Oftentimes those referral agents were in my own office who I would pass business to, and I got tighter and tighter. I started to focus more on a geographic area that was tighter in, because I thought I could do more in less time without having the drive. Again, you get to make those decisions as you grow, right? Yes, Mara says, I'll drive where the money is. And I appreciate that, right? Because when you're launching, that I believe is the right answer, right? It doesn't matter if it's a listing or a sale. It doesn't matter if it's a 45-minute drive away, right? We're going to go and just kind of go where the business is to get our feet wet and to continue to practice and practice and practice, and then start honing the business more locally as you grow. All right, so, boy, time flies when you're having fun, huh? Any questions, comments, or concerns on the things that we've covered today? Nada? Zippo? Really? All right, I feel like I maybe didn't do such a good job if you have nothing. All right, share an excitement. What excited you today? Also nothing. Okay, well, time for me to go then, because clearly.
What excited me today, Rick, is the fact that you spent 2 hours with us sharing your experience and insights. Thank you for that.
Oh, well, I'm glad. Thank you for saying that, Eric. By the way, Eric is now my new favorite. He has held that title before and lost it, right? He's got to keep up.
When did I lose it?
Well, I think you earned it, and then almost immediately someone else said something equally as spectacular, right? Because here's what's real in Ignite, right? Repeat offenders, you know this. Flattery will get you everywhere.
Okay, Donna wins.
So anything else that you want to just share about things that we covered today that were useful, helpful, or a surprise?
Very helpful. Thank you, Rick.
You're quite welcome. So look, tomorrow we're going to start still in Power Session 1, and you will get Power Session 3 in the morning tomorrow. Have all of them available because we're going to finish Power Session 1 with a discussion about scripts. We've done a whole bunch of Power Session 2 already, right? Just in our conversation today. We're gonna get real clarity around the 36 Touch program and how you can make that sing for you. And starting on source of business. Your homework that I promised you yesterday
It's called 10 people.
is as follows. You have 24 hours. Well, you have 22 hours until we meet again at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Your homework is to make just two business calls between now and 4 o'clock tomorrow. A business call is going to be, even if it starts off with a personal, hey, how you doing? How's your family? How's your bizarro world going? Needs to pivot to, hey, do you just have a minute for me to ask a quick business question, right? Maybe some of you are having the conversation around, hey, just wanted to remind you I've opened a powerful real estate firm, right? Those of experienced agents, you know that you can also pivot to, hey, just wanted to call and remind you that I am here for whatever kind of real estate services or real estate related services you might need. And then always pivot to the question before I let you go. I'm curious, who do you know that might be interested in buying, selling, or creating wealth by investing in real estate? So I want you to promise me that between now and 4 o'clock tomorrow, you will make 2 business phone calls where you ask for some business. For some of you, you're like, really? 2? I can do that like on the drive home. Well, most of you are home. I can do that on the drive. I can do that on the, before dinner. Well, that's awesome. Then do that and then get up tomorrow and, Gesundheit, Doug. Go ahead and do that and then do some more tomorrow. 2 is the minimum. For some of you, you're kind of thinking, oh my goodness, I should have pressed end call 5 minutes ago. So I didn't have to hear him say that. Because now I'm conflicted because I don't really want to do it. right? But here's the thing. I want you to start dipping your toe in the pool of talking to people about real estate, because the only way your business is going to grow is if you will build that muscle, right? So build the muscle, prove to yourself that you can. I promise you, you will not be hospitalized. No one has ever died because they made a phone call to somebody and asked for some business. And then what I want to do first thing tomorrow, well, it may be first thing, it may be mid thing, because I find that when I say we're going to do it first thing, then some people purposely come late because they don't want to have to share their experiences. Like I said, this is not my first rodeo. So we will do it at some point tomorrow. I want you to just share your challenges and your successes and what you experience with those 2 phone calls. You want to make more, but minimum of 2. So with that, I wish you a fond good evening. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, bright and early for our 9 a.m. Zoom, 4 o'clock for Ignite, and 6 o'clock for risk reduction, all tomorrow.
Rick?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you just tell me again, where is it that I find the handouts for the class to look?
So they're emailed every day. Are you in the system, Dana?
No, I don't have my KW email address yet.
Okay. And so when you were onboarded, what email address did you give?
I give my personal one.
Yeah, so they should be going to your personal email address.
No, I didn't get that.
Which market center are you affiliated with?
Stanford.
Yeah, so do me a favor and just shoot an email to Adonis.
Okay.
And that's adonis@kw.com.
Mhm.
And make sure that the correct email address for you is in our roster, and make sure that I will make sure that he and Maria have that updated roster once he checks that for you, so that you will start receiving emails. Do you get my emails when I send out emails?
I haven't yet gotten.
Okay,
I've been
what that
getting from,
means-
like Steve and Adonis, but I,
Yeah, we all work from the main roster, and so if the email address on the main roster is incorrect or something that doesn't exist for you anymore or whatnot, you won't get the emails because most of us just email to the roster. We cut and paste the roster. So ask him to just check that for you. I'll verify with them in the morning that has been updated, and you should be all set.
okay, thank you.
I have a question real quick. The recorded sessions, where do we find those?
My question exactly.
Yeah, so the recorded sessions are posted usually by the next morning
Okay.
on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and that is Stamford and Ridgefield TV. So just go to YouTube and type in Stamford and Ridgefield TV. Actually, I think it's KW Stamford and Ridgefield TV. Hi, Matai.
Okay.
Rick,
and you will
is
find it.
is that for all of the things that are recorded
Yep.
through Ridgefield, through the Zoom room?
Mhm.
Yeah, every class that's recorded is posted onto that KW Stamford and Ridgefield TV YouTube channel.
Thank you.
And it usually takes the overnight. So especially when we end at 6 o'clock, that will be by usually 9 or 10 o'clock the next morning posted. Sometimes they're same day if we have earlier classes.
Okay. Thank you.
And Bogdan just put the YouTube
Thank
link
you, Bogdan.
in the chat, so you can copy that. All right, guys, I am out with you this evening. Have a lovely evening. I will see you tomorrow.
Thank
Good night.
Thank you, Rick. Good night.
Thank you.